All right, what's up, everybody? We are back. Thanks for sticking around. If you call Oasis Church home and you're watching right now, this is for you. I'm pumped to share a little bit about the story of how we've been thinking regarding building a building in our town. So, some of you have been on this journey with us for a few years. In fact, I think it was like 3 years ago now. Todd and I were driving through town here. We had been working with a realtor. Um, Trying to identify some property that we could buy. The realtor was kind of dragging his feet a little bit. Uh, I'm the type that's like, let's just go get it done. So we just drove through town. We identified a couple of plots of land, and then we got out of the car, knocked on the door, and said, "I want to buy your property." That was how intentional we were with this. We saw the piece of property that we're sitting on right now. It had been listed for a little while. It had some complications, like there was a stream, a river, sort of a creek running right through the middle of it. It's kind of a weird shaped piece of land. So commercially, it I think it sat on the market longer than what you would have expected because most commercial like business operations would want something different to build on. We saw it as an opportunity. We knocked on the door. We had some meetings with the owner. The owner negotiated with us. They had it listed for like $1.5 million. It's 8 acres of land, like 8.25 acres of land or something. Um, we negotiated down to $1 million, and the owner decided that he would finance it to us at 0% interest. This is a couple of years ago. We went through the process of doing all the paperwork and all of that. We bought the land, and since then we've paid it off essentially. We haven't paid it off completely because we have a 0% interest loan on it, um, but we have the money to pay it off. It's sitting in our bank account, so we technically own the land. It's ours. Um, and it's been really cool to watch God work through that because as like designed a building and gone through the process of doing all the testing and having all the engineering companies take a look at our property to figure out what it's going to require and what we can and can't do on the property. We went through a lot of meetings with the town of Holly Springs to identify potential obstacles and how we would overcome them. You know, the stream running through the middle of the property presented a huge challenge early on. That obstacle was overcome. We have the ability and the permission from the town of Holly Springs to build a 28,000 square foot facility on the property with 300 parking spaces. That's been approved. We've got the permits to start grading on the land. Okay, so I'm trying to give you some history of where we've been and where we're headed with this property situation. Um, we're in a healthy place financially. And originally, we were planning to build something that would have been very big and very expensive. This is back when we had all this momentum. The church was growing. Things were going really, really well for us at the high school location. Of course, in March, COVID hit. It put us in this place. This is our church house. We call it the church house. It's on the property at 1828 Ralph Stevens Road. And we utilize this space for offices, staff. It's secure, all of that stuff. So we've got this land used for that. Um, we've been in negotiations and in talks with builders over the course of the year, trying to identify, is it wise for us financially? Is it wise for us uh, in terms of the timing right now to pull the trigger on a building project? So what we decided to do over the last few months in like conversations with our church council, other leadership, some wisdom from our denomination, we decided that we would restructure our approach. And instead of building a humongous building with lots of seats, I think it was going to seat 600 people and have enough room for like 250 kids. We decided to build something smaller as a phase one of the overall building process. And this phase one of the building would be a smaller 10,000 square foot facility that would probably seat about 298 adults and house up to 150 kids on a Sunday morning. And so we would build something smaller. It'll feel a little tight, but essentially what we're doing is we're going to build our kids facility first. This was the overarching plan was this huge building. And we decided to start on the side where our kids' space was, and we're going to build that first, and the adults will use it for a while we do the rest later as in the years to come. We're doing this for various reasons. One, because it's wise during COVID to build something smaller, because we don't know how all this is going to shape up in the years to come. So we're just going to build something smaller to start with. It's also wise financially. We're saving money by doing this. It's still expensive. It's expensive to build anything in Holly Springs. But we've decided to move forward, and I've got a photo I'd like to show you, just the photo of the elevations of the building that we're going to build right here on our property. Um, that's the most recent drawings that we have. We do not yet have full construction plans, but what you see here is essentially what we're going to build on the property here at 1828 Ralph Stevens Road in phase one. So I wanted you to get a visual for what that's going to look like, and I wanted you to know that we're moving forward with this project. We still have a long way to go. We still got more permits and more drawings to make and all of that. We have a decent size, like a decent layout. We actually, for those of you who give consistently toward this project, we had a meeting with our givers a couple of weeks ago where we showed you the layout, the interior of the building, and all of that stuff. And if you didn't get to see that, or you weren't a part of that Zoom meeting, would you email Bonnie or email us at hello@oasischurchnc.com? We'll send you the recording to that video. If you're a giver, like we're because everything's in progress, we're not promoting a lot of the things publicly that aren't finalized yet. But we do have a set of core people who are giving faithfully to this that we're keeping in the loop. You're welcome to email us if you want to be a part of that. Also, if you want to give toward this project, you're welcome to do that as well. You can go to hereforgoodproject.org, hereforgoodproject.org. We've got all the details of our plans on that site. At the very bottom of that site, there's a link to something that we call a commitment card, and you can participate financially by committing to give toward the project over and above your regular tithes and offerings as we pursue this together. I'll give you a quick price tag, and then I want to get I'll conclude with some thoughts about what we need your vote on. The price point for our building right now is roughly a $4 million total project. That includes the cost of the land, the development, the permits, and the fees, and all that stuff. We're looking at roughly a $4 million total cost of the project. We've already paid off $1 million of it. We already have that money in hand. We're continuing to raise money toward this project, and I think that we'll probably borrow somewhere between $2 and $2.5 million from the bank, which means we still need to raise another $700,000 or $800,000, which is that's already been pledged. So you guys a year ago pledged to give to the Here for Good campaign $1.2 million, and some of that has already come in. $400,000 of that's already come in. So as we continue to raise money, we're on pace to be able to pay for this thing and be able to make it happen. We're just not on pace to do it sooner than later. It's still going to take us 2.5 years to finish it in terms of fundraising. If we get in front of the fundraising piece, the quicker we raise the next $600,000 or $700,000, the faster we can pull the trigger on this project. So if you're out there participating and you feel like the Lord has given you enough to be able to contribute what you committed in your pledge a little earlier, that's great. If you can't, just continue to stay faithful to what you said you'd do. Some of you never were a part of this thing and you didn't even know we were doing this. This will be the first time you've heard about it. I would love to invite you to be a part of it. The faster we knock it out, the faster we can break ground. If we had the money today, like if we had all the money this fall or by the end of the year, we could break ground in February. Our timeline is to start building the building sometime early next year. Based on what we know it would take with permits and other projects happening around us in development, it'll probably be February before we could break ground. Which means that we could likely be in the building sometime in September or October of 2021. Depending on what happens with COVID and all that stuff, we don't know. If we can get back into school sooner, we will do that. But if the schools keep us out and we don't have a place to meet, then it's likely that we could stick with what we're doing until we have a building. I know some of you won't attend church anyway, even if we did build a building. So half of you would come, the other half would continue to log in online. But hey, at least we would get to gather in a socially distanced, COVID appropriate way if we had that option. Anyway, needless to say, here's where we are right now with the project. Before we move forward on the financials, we've got to make a decision as a church to change the way that we're structured in terms of our church government. So many of you know that we're a part of a denomination. It's called the Foursquare Church. Foursquare is our family. We love Foursquare. Foursquare they coached us. They got us started. Our church legal name is Holly Springs Foursquare Church. We have been in partnership with our denomination from the very beginning. If it wasn't for this denomination, we wouldn't be who we are today. My pastor, Pastor Bill Gross, is the supervisor over 200 plus churches in the Southeast District of the Foursquare denomination. And he encouraged us to take this step, which I'm about to share with you. So since the founding of our church, we have been what we call a charter church of the Foursquare denomination. So think of this like we are a corporate entity of a corporate organization, right? We are locally, but we are a corporate arm of Foursquare. As we've moved forward with this project, one of the things that has come up has been that anything that we buy, land, our building that we build, all that stuff technically belongs to Foursquare. So Foursquare has to be very involved in the intricacies and the details of financing, of approving buildings, of just being a part of the business side of building a church. And ultimately what we build, it ultimately belongs to Foursquare because we are an arm of Foursquare. Foursquare recently started encouraging us to consider changing our status with Foursquare from a charter church to a covenant church. A covenant church, we still share the same like tax ID number. We still share the same values and beliefs. We still have the covering of Foursquare. My pastor, Bill Gross, is still my pastor. So if y'all want me fired, you got to convince him. Like that's the way this works. So over the course of the last couple of months, Pastor Bill's been encouraging us to transition our status from charter to covenant. I want you to think of it this way. Think of it like Subway has corporate Subways, the sandwich shop. They have corporate locations all around the country. They also have franchisees who live by the values, share the same menu, do the same stuff, but they just own their own property. They're not a corporate arm. They are just a franchisee who still has a relationship with Subway, but they have more freedom locally with their own building, their own financing, how they manage their books, et cetera, et cetera. Think of it like that. It's not the best metaphor, but it's maybe a broken metaphor, but it's the best I could come up with to help you see what we're doing. We're transitioning from a corporate sort of charter church to a covenant church, which means that ultimately we're still seen by Foursquare as family. We still have a relationship with Foursquare. The only thing that changes is that we have sold our church council and our business team we are the ones that make all the financial decisions for our local body. We own our land, we own our building, we're in covenant with Foursquare, but Foursquare has no hands on our real estate, essentially. And so as we move into this building project, we have decided to transition from being a corporate or more charter church to a covenant church. So we'll still have the relationship with Foursquare, but we will have sole ownership over our building, our land, and our finances. We have an incredible team, the church council, who manages our money. We have great oversight. I don't even see the money. I don't even know who does and does not give and tithe when they do. I don't know. We have a team that handles all that, and they're phenomenal. What we need, though, as we move into this process, is for you to vote for us to make that change. So before we can make the change to become a covenant church, we need our congregation to vote. And so if you're watching today, I want to ask you to go to a website. Just go in your browser and type voteforoasis.com. Ha! How clever. Voteforoasis.com. That will take you to a form online where you can vote, gives us a thumbs up, and sign your name to it saying, Oasis is my church home. And we'll count your vote toward this. We do need the church to approve it with a supermajority, which means we need like most of y'all. We don't need all y'all, but we need most of y'all to give this a thumbs up. There's some more details there on that form. And if you have objections that you want to talk about this before you make a vote, you are welcome to reach out to us and ask questions. But put really simply, with 3/4 of the church saying yes to this, we're going to go ahead and do the paperwork and start the process of changing over the financials so that we have sole ownership over our real estate and our financial portfolio. Thank you guys for being a part of this. Hit us up, voteforoasis.com. Hey, maybe you call Oasis home and you want to do the vote, and then afterwards go to hereforgoodproject.org, fill out a commitment card, and start participating with us financially so that we can knock this thing out and have an incredible facility for both our adults to gather and for our children. I'm really excited about the days to come. I'm looking forward to the next few months as we navigate all of what is happening in our world. I want you to know I'm praying for you, and I love you. In 6 minutes, this stream is going to end whether I like it or not. So let me pray, and we'll wrap it up. Father, you are good, and I'm grateful for how you've blessed our church. Thank you for loving us, for being faithful to us, and for continually providing for us. I thank you for the core of our church who is strong. They're strong in their commitment to you. They're strong in their generosity. And God, they've been leading the way in this project. I thank you for blessing them. I thank you for blessing us. And I pray that you continue to help us as a church to find ways to connect with one another, to do life together as we navigate all that's happening in our world. But ultimately, God, I pray that this whole building campaign comes together in a way that is miraculous so that we can look back and point at all you did, not at all we did. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Hey, thanks for logging on. We'll see you next Sunday at 10 o'clock.